Welcome to Set Life. I'm Amber Buteau, and this is
Kelly Leger.
And we have a friend of ours here at the studio and with us today, Parker Richardson. Thank you so much for sitting with us and hanging out with us on the show today.
Absolutely. It is an honor. I am very humbled right now with this experience. So thank you. Thank you.
Good. Because we love hanging out with friends.
I love Friends.
Yeah.
I'm the biggest fan.
Friends.
Tell me about Friends,
Tell
Kelly.
us about Friends, Kelly.
Wow, my friends, they're at all times.
Mm-hmm.
Friends there when you need the most.
Yeah.
Friends there when you're down. Friends there. Okay,
I'm going off Kermit.
My life just changed.
Okay.
I feel like that was Kermit's whole line. Doesn't he go? Doesn't he go on that whole like Friends spill or something like that? We're gonna find that. Yelly, our editor.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, Yelly, if you find that, you really need to clip that in.
Yeah,
on that.
that's a must.
Hallmark card, yeah.
Yeah, for Kelly. But okay, enough about us and
Enough
more about Parker.
us and our friendship.
Yeah. Okay, Parker. So we have, all walks of life in the industry on to talk about inspiring stories of the entertainment industry. Your story spans over some years, where it started for you, kind of the different things you've done in the industry. Yeah. So tell us the Cliff Note version of what that looked like for you and how and what you've done in the industry over.
Well, I graduated college with in public relations, and so I was always fascinated with, of course, movies, and always fascinated with acting, and always fascinated with even modeling and voice acting and speaking voiceovers. And I had a radio show in high school that was fun. It was very much kind of a creative outlet for me and a couple of my friends. And so there was always something in me that I was like, man, this would be desirable.
Yeah.
So graduating college, I moved to New York City. And I was working in public relations, more in fashion, though. So I was talking a lot back and forth with different publications, and I was helping just ultimately working with women's luxury brands. And so I really got involved with a lot of people who, of course, were in that industry in different ways, whether it was models, actors. It's again kind of the voiceovers. So anyway, I absolutely got asked by some of the different connections that I had to do some of those different things in acting, in some modeling. So this is actually a very interesting story.
Okay, good. I like it.
So I signed with an agency that ultimately signed for fit modeling. Now, fit modeling is not fitness modeling, Kelly. All right.
Oh.
Let me clarify.
I'm glad you did it, Parker.
Let me clarify.
Is that all you?
Yeah. This guy, sign him. We need him. So, but it was ultimately I was a human mannequin for designers. So that's what a fit model is. So I was, of course, around a lot of different designers that were influential in the the kind of the global markets. And so Express was one of my main clients. And I was like, at the time, not so much now, at the time I was a traditional size medium.
Okay.
And so there was
like Jack now.
Well, yeah, because there's so much muscle now.
So
Kelly.
Were you big enough what he was putting down there?
Yeah, it's a little slimmer. You know what I'm saying? It's a little slimmer. But so there was a couple years that Express, once again, one of my main clients, more recognizable ones. Yeah. And like the clothes, the medium, any medium that you went into Express in any store was really fit after my body, which is weird to think about. You know what I'm saying?
I've bought a lot of medium sizes from Express.
Does it look the same?
Have you?
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. Well, this was like 2014, my guy. So
all right.
Wait, were you buying it in 2014?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how I'm feeling so much about my comment there in the conversation at this point.
We can edit that out.
Can we edit that out? As I shrink.
No. Yeah, right.
So that was very, I mean, it was obviously around a lot of different people in that specific industry, as well as getting some, smaller little acting gigs with friends that were, doing different production things, whether small little shorts or, other commercials. And so having some experience with that always it was crazy. I never really pursued that. I do feel like a lot of these different opportunities kind of just came to me, which I was really grateful for, because it was kind of one of those spaces I was like, is this something that I really want to go into? Yeah. Is this something I really want to pursue? Yeah. Or is this something that ultimately I can maybe have influence in and be a part of and get to learn and get to experience and get to see and kind of get to have fun doing, but also know that there's purpose of my presence in it as well.
Sure. What do you think in that process? Do you think there was anything you did, or do you think there was anything that helped bring those opportunities to you?
Yes. And I think my answer is maybe elementary, but I do feel like there's just a authenticity of being kind, where if you are present, and this is something over the last several years I've really been trying to dial in and really think about so much more, is like, I want to be present where my feet are. Yeah, I want to be in those moments with where I am. But I do feel like, especially in looking back and seeing those, it was just, I was present. And of course, in New York, everybody's doing everything, and everybody wants to climb up whatever ladder that they're trying to do. And especially in entertainment, I feel like there's fairly just a superficial tone that is kind of ringing throughout. And so that here comes this guy, me, who I just wanted to be kind. I just genuinely cared about the people that I was alongside and wanting to know and wanting to learn more about.
And in a place like New York, I mean, that stands out.
Oh,
I mean,
for
you
sure.
could throw a pebble and hit an actor. And if they're not an actor, they're like, sure, I can be an actor. You know how many actors I hired at cafes when I lived in New York? They were just waiters, like, but you fit the part. You know, and so they're, it's saturation. Like that, that kind of, that stands out.
Yeah.
You know?
And also what I hear too is being able to, I think, climbing up the ladder and a lot of the things they're trying to do, everyone is a taker in the environment. What can they take for the environment? So if you come in saying, how do I add to the environment? How do I add value to that environment? That's what stands out. That, in my opinion, also is what helps foster opportunities.
Correct.
Because if everybody's starting to take something, then it makes the person who has it hold it closer. Because now they're like, why is everybody trying to take? But then if you have somebody come at you and go, I don't want what you have. Like, I don't have to take what you have, but how can I help you with that? This happens. So then opportunity unfolds instead of it being clenched from the person who has the opportunity that can release it. Yeah. And, you know, that is a game changer. That's why in hearing your story, there's a lot of people that are like, man, I don't ever have those opportunities that just come out of the blue. I'm like, but they do, but they don't.
Yeah.
They do, but they don't. I do believe, you know, my faith is super important to me. So I do believe there are fate crossings in your life.
100%.
And, but I do also believe it's our opportunity to take or miss.
Yes.
So you could have those moments and didn't take one.
Yes.
Or you can have one of those moments and not realize it.
Yes.
Or you can have one of those and not be a person that promotes that opportunity. Right? So the reason of asking the question was, like, for people that are listening, is it first starts, those great opportunities only happen already you being a great person, already you being somebody that wants to add value and doesn't want to be a taker and all of that, then that opportunity hits, and then it's offered to you.
Go to the gym.
And go to the gym so you can be a fit model. And, not literally fitness, but a...
I know. I always do need to clarify that.
It's true.
Because...
a lot of people don't know that even 100%. Exists.
And we always assume, like, oh, fitness, it's just short for fitness.
Yep.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm literally... And it was really cool because, I mean, I would stand there sometimes just trying on all of these clothes, and the conversations that you would be able to have with, now, majority of the designers aren't necessarily really excited to get to talk to the model that the clothes is on. Sure. But I was not, that's not why I'm there. Right. But I would always look for opportunities to be like, man, how can I just engage this person in conversation? Because I imagine he probably maybe has a successful life, but he probably has a broken life. Yeah. So what is it that I could maybe extract from him that to help him see maybe a deeper version of him or her, whoever the designer was, to be able to add something and encourage and love, just having to just be a presence there.
Sure.
So
wow, that's really good. Okay, so you did that for a stint of your life, and then where did it turn, or what happened?
Well, it was interesting because while I was in New York and I was signed with this agency, and of course, I mean, models and actors were, I mean, and I was not a big name by any stretch of that imagination. Yeah. So I worked with a couple different agencies doing several different things, and one agency that I was connected with connected me to an estate, a billionaire's estate, where I was a butler for like a year and a half. I had an opportunity to serve this man and his wife. They're older, and so I served them in their home while on different weeks, and they had different penthouses across the city. And
Alfred?
So everybody asks me always when I tell the story, they're like, "Did you have an English accent?" And I'm like, "Do I have one now?"
Totally would have had an English accent if I was a butler. I'm like, you're blowing my mind, man. Yeah. Okay.
I was going to try my best one, but
not fit model.
Correct.
Butler.
Correct.
I'm like, where do we go from fit model to butler to?
Well, so in that state of kind of being a, model, acting in some very smaller things, and then a butler, and still doing some of the voice acting, I'm really grateful that the Lord did bless me with a fairly deep baritone voice. Yeah. So I'm grateful for that. Yeah. And I've worked to develop that and kind of nurture that gift, because I love getting to help people with different projects that they have going on, where they just need a voice actor, where they just need someone to communicate something. Yep. And in the profession that I do now, whether it's podcasting or whether it is preaching, I mean, I'm a pastor for majority of my day, kind of handle those type of responsibilities, or communicating elsewhere in different places. I'm thankful that the Lord gave me the voice that I have to be able to communicate in the different ways that I have to. So
okay, so we go from the butler season, which I'm sure taught you, I mean, a lot.
It did.
Yeah, I would assume that would teach you a lot.
The biggest thing was integrity. Because I was alone a lot. Yeah. And that was the hardest part, was really being isolated, because it was kind of speak when spoken to. Yeah. And, whenever you're around influential, people that are worth billions, like they don't, I mean, I'm the hired hand, so it's not like I had to be able to recognize and kind of develop a deeper social awareness of how to have conversation and how to approach different situations and what that looked like. But also I was alone a lot. So, and there were cameras everywhere in the house, as well as microphones everywhere in the house. And so, I mean, I couldn't be on my phone. So it was like, okay, well, going 10 hours a day of just being alone for 8 hours of that, besides the minimal times that I have with them. So what am I doing? What am I thinking about? Yeah. Like, who am I? I mean, all of these deeper questions.
Surrounded by what the world would deem is absolute success.
100%.
I mean, that poses really deep questions you start asking, but I think it also poses the idea of, you maybe thought I wanted all these things, and then you're now seeing it unfold, and you're like, maybe this isn't what I want. What do I want? What is actual success?
Correct.
I mean, I could just envision, like, it's making me think of a movie. Everything I think is a movie. But anyways,
what movie?
That producer's mind. Well, I'm just thinking of it of its own. Oh, like it being a whole perspective.
Downton Abbey.
From, okay. But it's that whole perspective that I think is told a lot, but maybe not from the perspective of the journey of that one person and the kind of inner battle that happens within that to ask those deep questions within it, So, okay, so you're having those conversations with yourself, and what derives from it?
Well, starting once again, asking myself, who am I? So the things that I've attached myself to and my identity to, it's really easy to do that, especially whenever you do experience a little bit of success in whatever industry, whatever field, whatever thing that you are putting your hand to. It's really easy to kind of say, well, I am this, rather than just maybe I do this.
Yep.
And so really wrestling with, okay, kind of who is Parker? What does Parker love? What do I feel like I'm particularly gifted in? And so asking, and I feel like there's a lot of things there that I do love, that I do feel like the Lord has gifted me in, that I can continue to kind of build and help and shepherd and nurture. So I was serving in a church role at the same time, kind of while doing all of these different things. And so there was an opportunity that a buddy had in Tulsa, Oklahoma, from New York City to Tulsa, Oklahoma. Wow. So I moved to Tulsa to help plant a church with my friend. And while I was running a men's clothing store, and I was still going back and forth to New York because of a contract that I had, still with the family as a butler. And so I was doing several different things, and there kind of everything in my life kind of came to a crashing halt in Tulsa. Kind of had this moment again, as I did in New York, who is Parker and what are the things that I want to do? And so then there was another opportunity with a church in North Carolina that I decided to take. And it was kind of through there, though, that I feel like what I needed, it was kind of a season of obscurity in the most beautiful way, because once again, kind of got to work on who is Parker in this? Because I was in my mid-20s, and man, the young people, we think we know.
Oh,
and
for sure.
And how foolish could I have been in that space to think, I want to do this for the rest of my life, or I want to try to pursue this. And I just had a very deep revelation of, man, am I the same person in all of these different things, or am I compartmentalized versions of myself in all of these different things? And so it was kind of a grounding where it was like, okay, I love to communicate. I do not think that the word pastor, of course, in the cultural context in which we live, very much is played out or could be viewed or seen in one way. But I was like, a pastor is just a nurturer and a shepherd, and I can do this in whatever space I'm occupying. I never think it's just solely in a church-like setting. And so I was like, I feel very, very called to be a pastor in once again, whatever setting that may be. It could be at a restaurant. I've waited a number of tables in my life. It could be, it could be wherever. So it's more of a role than it is a title. So, but also I love podcasting, and I listen to podcasts all the time. And I love, once again, communicating in various different arenas and different spaces. And so just kind of really was like, okay, what does this look like? So now from North Carolina, I moved here to Houston. My wife and I had our first child. His name is Saint. And he's 2 years old. And so we moved here 2 years ago to be closer to family. And from there have very much seen my role as a pastor, as a podcaster, as a parent, all very much be I'm the same person in all of them. And I just have an opportunity to be the man that the Lord has created me to be in all of those. So
that's good.
Saint is such a cool name.
It is, isn't it?
We were debating, we're either setting him up for a ton of success or a ton of failure. We'll see.
On the faith side of things here, the Bible only calls us Christians 3 times. Saints,
it's true,
over 60 times.
It's true.
It's a big deal. It's very accurate.
Yes.
Love it.
Yes.
There's a lot of Christians names, the physical name Christian out there. Why not say?
Well, as once again, I do believe in Jesus. So looking at and reading names were purposeful. Names were intentional.
That's right.
And my wife and I, we wanted to speak his name and what it means over him every single day. Whenever we call Saint, stop doing that. Saint, we love you. Saint, whatever. Whenever we said Saint, we wanted really to be speaking. He's set apart. He's consecrated. So
which is where the Lord changed lots of people's names in the Bible from one to another. And I think You may not have a super cool name like Saint, but you have the ability to.
We think it's pretty cool.
But you have the ability, if your name is not Saint, to still identify as a name. And I think a lot of your story has been talking about identity, where you place your identity. True identity doesn't change. It's like the identity of this mic does not change. The circumstances in which we use this mic does change, but the identity does not of it. It's to record sound. It's, it's to do what it's meant to do. That is a lot of your story. It's like, okay, all my environments changed. All these things changed. And I tried to conform to those things, but my identity is still
correct.
Parker and who I was created to be. That doesn't change. Yeah. And when we can get to that, and I believe in my faith that is something that is an internal thing that you work out. For me, that's with my best friend Jesus. So, really refining that into my life to say, how can I be consistent? What is it that I've been blessed with? What is it that I find, that I'm passionate about, that I've been gifted at, that I feel strongly about? I've said on other episodes and times, whatever makes you mad, whatever makes you sad, whatever makes you glad, somewhere in there is probably something you're called to do in life.
Totally.
And those are the core of who you are. It doesn't matter. Injustice doesn't have to have a certain box. Injustice is injustice. Like, that's something that infuriates me, is injustice. So part of my passion for creating this environment is to give justice to the whole crew. The injustice part of, well, I'm a talent or I'm this, and so I'm going to walk in and this is how we're going to all act. I think I think there is great professionalism.
Yes.
But injustice I don't like, and it infuriates me. So I think we're all created equal, and then we all have jobs to do. So everybody has a role to do in that, but it doesn't give us the right to, treat other people wrong. That's a core thing for Amber. No matter what career, no matter what job, no matter where I am, in church, not church, at home, whatever, that stays always, right? And finding those things in our identity, our experiences help us refine that. Yes. And that's what I hear in your life, that, through your experiences kept refining, like, I kind of like that, but that's really not it, but what it did show me is this really is it. Yeah. Like, this really did teach me. Yeah. Standing there as, a mannequin, so to speak, fit model, and being surrounded by all of that, and the things that you took in, the things that you learned, didn't like, to the butler, to what you learned, what you saw, what you didn't like, what you did like, opportunities to, then going in the church and going from, literally, that's like going from Iceland to Mexico, right? From New York to Oklahoma. They're as far as different as they can be. Correct. You are not wrong. Culture shock on top of that. So, and then it poses the question, though. So are you willing to stay true to your identity? In Oklahoma, you dress different, talk different, act different. An acceptable culture says this is accepted. That is not. But if that is who you are, do you still sit in it, and can you still be confident in who you are there and love people even in your indifferences? Just all of those things in your story really point to the entertainment industry in my mind.
Yeah, and now, of course, I'm thinking about your podcast. He's also got a podcast called
Thinkless.
Thinkless. I guess I would love to know, because I'm certain that all of those experiences and that life path led you to a lot of what you're communicating on that show. Tell people a little bit about, the concept for Thinkless.
Well, it started, there was a friend of mine who I got to know in North Carolina when I lived there, and he and I would voice memo back and forth all the time. And it was more just kind of rant sessions. It was more kind of venting about, why aren't we thinking enough about X? Like, why aren't we thinking enough about, education? Why aren't we thinking enough about church? Why aren't we thinking we're so thoughtless in many different arenas because of how we were raised or environments that we were around. Or busyness. I mean,
what the world's trying to sell us all the time. Chase,
we're just
busy.
Distracted.
Yep.
So it was just, so he and I kind of started it with like, let's turn our voice memos into podcast form, because I feel like there's some truth in here. Yeah. There's some questions that we're asking each other. And he's older than me, so I kind of see him as a mentor figure in my life. And so it was kind of me really asking him questions. That's kind of how we started. And then we're like, man, let's get some other brilliant thought leaders that we know, that we love. And let's ask them this question. Like, what do you think people are not thinking enough about? Yeah. What do you think people are thinkless about? Yeah. Thinkless is a made-up word, by the way. It is. Don't look it up. You can Google it and you'll discover our podcast. But there's not it's not a real thing. So we made it up. But yeah, because we ultimately wanted to help people just take steps deeper in their thought life and stop outsourcing thinking to other mediums, outsourcing thinking to, the outlets that are so easily available to all of us. It's like, how can we stop and really think for ourselves about some of these different things? So as we had guests on that were from, various industries, some in the church, some not in the church, he and I, my co-host at the time, were more heavily involved in church. Since then, one of my other friends has kind of stepped in, and this other guy has kind of stepped out as my other co-host. So he lives in Nashville. My co-host now lives in Nashville, and he's doing a lot of different things. His name is Ben, and Ben traveled around the whole country. He built out a van with his wife and traveled around the country for a whole year and a half, just living out of a van. And so they had tons of different experiences, met tons of different people, and which was really fun for them. Yeah. And so he and I we were bringing on guests all the time and just really asking this question, man, what are, and some voices we don't necessarily exactly agree with.
Sure.
And that's okay.
Sure.
Like, we want to be able to create and foster a space where we can disagree, but still model friendship and still model kindness and
I think that to create that space, you have to own your own identity.
Yes.
And be confident and okay in that.
Yeah.
To sit with indifference, I say all the time, I want to have a seat at every table.
Yeah.
Like, I love humanity. I love mankind. And I want to give somebody the freedom to be who they are, because I like the freedom to be who I am.
Yep.
So we have to foster that environment where we can sit with things that are not the exact same way we believe to even pose those questions, right? And I think Thinkless, in asking the question, what are we not thinking enough about? One, I think a lot of people don't think outside of the box or take the time to be stretched mentally to think outside of the box. They just take answers.
Right.
They just take it for what it is. Nobody's challenging them on that. Nobody's going to challenge you in your life to make you have to think differently than you already think. Now, a circumstance might challenge you, and you have a choice to succumb to it or not. But to pose the question to say, how deep can you go on this thought with me? Which is so exhilarating for me. My whole world is always trying to think outside of the box. I raise my kids to say, this is maybe good or not, but I'm always like, who told you that eggs were a breakfast food?
Yeah.
For sure. We're having a fit in the kitchen over eat your eggs, and I'm like,
do you go
why?
Do you go that deep on Thankless? Like eggs?
We barely scratched the surface.
Good luck.
That is life altering right there. All right.
It is. But in a perspective that it really is. I taught my kids.
Totally.
They eat different foods all over the world. The whole idea is to measure what you're being told by what.
Yeah.
What makes you believe the things that you believe? Just because it's been told to you, just because you saw it on TV, you saw it on social media. How do you know that's absolute truth?
Yeah.
And maybe eggs are a great breakfast food, but are they the only kind? And can you think outside of that box with, you know, maybe I can compromise on something else, but the core root of why I'm doing that is this, right? It's the why are you doing what you're doing, the questioning those things.
And I hear a new podcast, Why Eggs for Breakfast.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go. There you go.
So simple,
That's
but
gonna
profound.
It is. It's just, I feel like it's going to be, no, we could keep going with that.
Yeah, we just stop.
We are communicators, so we could riff on all kinds of things thrown at us.
My goodness.
But yeah, it's that really challenging people's thinking and unlocking possibilities. Last night I was having a conversation talking about creativity and communication and all that. So many people are so worried about AI, and here's what I say on the AI and communication land is, we are the original creators. We have created everything that exists. AI can only create from what has been created. AI cannot be an ingenuitive mind to create something new, right? So it can take collectively everything that's here and build smarter information by a broadened stint of information. But it cannot create something brand new.
Yeah.
We are the only ones that can do that.
Yes.
And I believe that we will always be the only ones that can create brand new something that's not existed before, you know, because I think that's the way we were designed, you know, was to be, we were designed by the creator to create for him, you know, and in communication and how we tell stories and how we communicate and all of that. I mean, I'm sure you've used AI for descriptions and different things like that. And they do great things.
Yeah.
But to get to the heart of challenging our thinking at a deeper personal relationship level, I think that's something AI can't do.
Yeah, no, 100%.
You know, that's through our relationship and conversations to know where to maneuver, how to ask the right questions, how to run with a thought that's going to unlock something, you know, at that deeper thinking level.
Well, I mean, the world of our conscience is so unknown when it comes to the scientific, like, description of, like, understanding, fully being able to understand, like, our own conscious and our own thought processes and all of that.
Yeah.
And so it's like, well, how could if we barely understand that as human beings, like, in how can we build things to do that as well? So I completely agree. Where it's like we are the because we were created by the creator, we then only can be the ones to create, and so AI is this
is the
interesting thing, but
it's
a tool
of our creation.
It is
you know,
a tool.
Our tool.
It is, and then it's like everything else in life. I mean, how you use it. We'll go back to my kids again. I use the example of boundaries in life and good things and how you use them. A chocolate chip cookie is really good. You eat the whole bowl of chocolate chip cookies, you're really sick. You know, I mean, there's a balance to everything in life and in what we do and how we use it and what we do with it. But I think it's great what you do to challenge. And I also love the fact that on Thinkless, you pose the question to them. Like hearing their voice in what's not being thought of enough. You know, and challenging them to bring something to the table to spur conversation. I think that's a great concept and a great conversation to sit in on. You know.
We've had so many different topics brought up. I mean, the future of education. I mean, where our education system is right now and what could be in the future. And I mean, of course, the political landscape as well as, I mean, why eggs? Why eggs as breakfast food? I mean, we've had so many varying degrees of discussions. And even the most recent guest that we had on, she recently released a book about her journey in therapy and kind of asking this question, like, things have been done to me rather than just wrestling with, like, there are issues with me. So anyway, it was a really beautiful conversation. Just to kind of, how can we identify the things that have been done to us that we don't even realize that are affecting us in very real ways? Like what level of thought like even just trying to take our thoughts captive. It's like our thoughts are everywhere. Well, how can we instill different mindful practices where we can take back ownership of a conscious thought rather than letting subconscious reign? So, I mean, there's so many different, I mean, the possibilities are endless, of course.
Which is so great about it.
I'm thinking enough about, but it's been fun.
Yeah.
It's been fun. It's really challenged me personally.
What's next for Parker?
Great question. Great question. I've been wrestling with this with my wife and I.
Batman?
Yeah. Yes.
Batman.
Well, I saw behind the scenes of Batman, so I can know. So I consider myself young.
Yes. Okay. Good.
So I know that there is still so much more that I can put my hand to. Yeah. And what more looks like right now, I think continuing to be a good steward with the things that I'm already doing. Yeah. But I'm wrestling with this. I don't have a good answer for you. Ultimately, I don't have a good answer for you. Yeah. But I have been asking myself this question of, okay, there's more that I can contribute towards. There's more that I can help develop. I love getting to see people's gifts and people's minds. Once again, even kind of with the podcast, but ultimately more on like a more personal level. I love getting to see just the multiplication of mindset and the multiplication of leadership. I'm fascinated by leadership. Everything rises and falls on leadership. So I'm already thinking leading several groups of guys through different leadership, practical application from not just the spiritual place, but the business place. And so I don't know. I'm talking with a buddy right now who he's very much growing just in his spiritual awareness. And so he and I are like, man, how can we take groups of guys out in the woods and just like, just in silence and solitude and just kind of really just kind of exist and be. And so, I mean, I don't know, there's always different ideas that I'm fascinated by, that I'm interested in.
Yeah. You got to take them on the Butler retreat.
Yeah, exactly.
No phones.
Let's go serve some wealthy individuals, Let's go do it.
So there are ministries like that.
There are ministries. Yes, absolutely.
There are places that do that.
I don't have a good answer for you, but I know that there's more.
But I think that's a great answer because that is the step to finding the answer. Yeah. And a lot of people, I feel like, won't vocalize that. They come up with an answer and then try to fit that answer. And that's not the right answer. The answer sometimes is, I'm waiting and I'm listening. I'm really seeking what is the right next step for me, and that's okay. And there's power in that. Again, that is owning your own identity and not trying to conform to the what sounds right identity.
Totally. Totally.
I appreciate when my leaders say, I don't know. Yeah. It actually makes all the other answers a lot more valid to me. Yeah. Because I know that they might say, I don't know. They're not always going to give me an answer. Yeah. So when they do give me an answer, I'm just like, no, they know that answer. That is a real answer, to them. I like it. It's good. Good answer.
Yeah.
That's helpful.
Okay, so how do our audience watch your show, get in touch with you, support you, follow your journey? What does that look like?
So, I mean, my Instagram, I would say, is probably the best kind of central place. So it's Parker Rich, Instagram, Parker Rich. And from there, Thinkless Podcast is its own Instagram account as well. So you can go to Thinkless Podcast. But really kind of directing people to me and kind of going from there to my Instagram personally. Would be the best medium. But
yeah, that's great.
Yep.
On your podcast, is it a video podcast or audio podcast?
So audio primarily. So of course we're on every platform that you could listen to your podcast on.
Perfect.
Except Pandora. Just kidding. Is that even a podcast? Can you even listen to podcasts?
I don't know.
I don't even know.
I don't know.
We should know, but we don't know. Right? Because we're all doing podcast show and we're like, we're not even sure.
It was so funny. The other day I was with some friends and my buddy put on music and it was Pandora. And I was like, you still do Pandora? Like, I thought this was like a 2012 type of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, what? By now. Yeah, exactly. Anyway, no, everywhere that you can find podcasts, we are on. Of course, the normal, Spotify, Apple, we're there. Thinkless Podcast. So that's Thinkless. Thinkless.
Perfect.
So Thinkless Podcast. Yep.
Okay.
Cool. Wow.
Parker, it's been great.
Yeah,
Thanks
for
sharing your story.
Of course.
Thank you for your honesty, your vulnerability, and your heart to be the conduit of love and change to an environment that you walk into. You know, it's been, you know, through your entire story, it's been here, and we've been happy to sit with you. So thanks.
Thank you
for
so
hanging out with us
much.
today.
Yes. An absolute honor. Thank you.
Yep. And Kelly?
Yeah.
It's been great.
It's been fun. I've enjoyed the listening to y'all's conversation. No, I'm enjoying it. I'm like, sometimes I just enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm thinking. I thought a lot today when you guys were talking.
You were thinkless?
Yeah. Occasional comment here and there.
Right.
Batman, fitness.
Yeah. That's good. Comic relief.
It's good stuff.
Always can count on it.
Always good.
But thanks for tuning in. Until next time, we'll see you on Set Life.